cutting live to the Magic with Shane Svoboda, who will join me presently. Shane Svoboda is our third-party pairer, so we use the double Swiss system in the league, which is 2 rounds of Swiss run simultaneously. And in order for that to function, so you don't know who you're going to play, you are required to have a second or a third-party pairer, someone who pairs outside of the league. Shane was the one who originally came up with the idea for the concept of a Canberra league that run multiple events, and now he does our third-party pairing after having moved into Sydney. And here he is joining me now with his entire luggage. All right. Shane Svoboda, everybody.
Do we have deck lists? Where are our lists?
Our deck lists. They should be coming up in a moment. Actually, so at the very least, you have them on your email. Who have we got playing first?
It's Chris Addy and Tim Evers.
Chris Addy and
Chris
Tim
is on a
Evers.
Pox build and Tim's on a Bug Delver list.
Oh, yeah, so Tim's Bug Delver list. Reasonably sure I know that off the top of my head.
You know, I was organised. I did actually have deck lists printed on these chairs, Jacob.
Oh, right. You have the deck list. You've moved. That's what they were. That's your lunch and everything.
That's what they were.
Very good.
Oh,
You
my
didn't go through
lunch.
them.
You haven't eaten it yet.
No, I didn't eat it. I just saw it on there. I had no idea who
So
it
Chris
was.
is playing a pretty standard Pox build.
Yep.
We're talking 1 Crucible, 3 Curse Scrolls, which is a pretty old school win condition, I suppose. We've got 3 Dark Rituals, not 4, because the first turn Liliana just isn't good enough.
He's got the full 4 hymns, 4 inquisitions, 4 lilies, though, so there's an awful lot of discard.
Yeah, and he's got a Nether Void, so if he comes up against the Burn player, I suppose they're going to have a really bad time against him.
The Abyss is in board. I thought it was generally the Abyss main and the Nether Void side.
No, you don't play either of them usually, so it's a bit unusual.
All right.
It's too slow. And no tops, no card selection either, so we're going to see some pretty awkward top decks probably in the late game.
He's got the 2 Nether Spirits. That's a little bit greedy. You don't ever want to have both of them.
Two's fine. I mean, you're not usually going to charge your way into both of them, but I've seen Pox builds nowadays run a bit of green for Life from the Loam action.
Yep.
They run an Entomb package with Worm Harvest as well, so you end up playing 2 Entomb.
An Abrupt Case in the board for just...
In the main, actually.
Oh, okay.
So you run 2 Entomb, a Worm Harvest, a Life from the Loam, and sometimes a Raven's Crime and your Nether Spirits, so you've got a bit of a flexible...
Yep.
Okay, we've got the match up.
We've got the match. Let's just quickly go over the other deck list while they're
look, it's just a pretty standard Bug Delver list, but he's running Nimble Mongooses, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, so it's not Shardless Bug, it's just Bug Delver.
It's like he's whacked Bug Delver and Rug Delver together and tried to make a deck out of it. But we'll see how that goes.
Well, he came second in the league, so he's doing reasonably well with it.
Yeah, look, I think Tim's favoured in this matchup. If he sticks a first turn Nimble Mongoose and...
Or even a first turn Death Ride into a second turn True Name, which keeps him safe from Edict effects, and he can usually leave up days as well.
Is Chris running Innocent Bloods?
Yes, he is. His list has multiple Innocent Bloods.
Okay.
We're joined briefly by Jim Wilkes.
Hello.
Who's one of our contestants, so he's actually just here to spy on the competition.
Ghosting the match, so he's got Chris has got a hand, it looks like a Ritual. We've got a Sinkhole in there, do we?
Yeah, so Ritual, that's the Nether Void there? Yeah, so Sinkhole, Dark Ritual, Tim's got Wasteland, Nimble Mongoose. The Goose isn't going to last very long, he's full of Edicts.
Innocent Blood. Well, that's a bit worse than an Innocent Blood for Tim.
Yeah. That looks like it's not going to end particularly well. The Wasteland being mostly dead in this matchup. And the Lily, he's going to follow it up with the Wasteland and then into the Sinkhole, potentially. See here, he's going for the Delver play. Hoping that Smallpox would just ruin him here. Did he have a Smallpox in his hand? I didn't see one. He's not going for the Delver? Is it boy? Him. Did he have a him in hand?
Oh, him's rubbish in this matchup.
Him takes away some of the Sinkhole effects and things, so it's Him's always a good card, except when your opponent has no cards in hand. But that Wasteland's pretty dead, and his hand looks full of land, relatively. Rolling up, discarding. Verdant Catacombs and Nether Spirit, that was definitely a 1-up for Chris. Yeah, he's going the Wasteland. If he blind flips the Delver here, which he always does, Tim Evers...
Into Abrupt Decay, which is pretty good as well.
Yep. So if he's got the blue land, I believe, yeah, he's got the fetch land for the Abrupt Decay, right into killing the Lily, hitting for 3, and leaving up, does he, which he generally does, have the Daze.
Daze isn't a big deal here. I mean, if he's going to win some blood next turn, he's going to have another land open.
Yeah. Well, from what I saw of Chris's hand, he doesn't actually have the second land.
You probably don't lead with Smallpox here anyway, because you're trying to get him to waste cards, so you'd almost just want to him. You don't really care about your life total at this stage. You're still on 20.
Yeah, saving the Abrupt Decay. Although the Nether Spirit's coming back, the only thing I guess that he's worried about is a second Lily. Asking for permission against the mono black deck. Strong. I would love to see a Dark Ritual Dash Hopes, but we know it's not on the list. Just have a squeeze through the list. So you reckon Tim's favoured here?
Chris should win.
You reckon Chris should win?
Should.
This is looking pretty bad for Chris if he doesn't hit that next... Oh, he did hit the land? Sinkhole? That's completely irrelevant.
Dirtling with terrible cards.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think Chris's build is a bit weak. I mean,
it seems like that the game is going to be relatively over from here. Exiling the Nether Spirit. I mean, if he sinkholes, then he's got... From what I could see of his hand, he's just going to try and destroy the lands, and the Delver and the Death Rite are going to get there. I mean, taking the Underground Sea is maybe an attempt to try and stop the Daze.
No, it keeps him off Brainstorm and Ponder as well if he doesn't have a second blue.
Yeah, sure, but it allows the Death Rite to continue exiling things. Yeah, so he's sinkholing as well.
Sinkhole your Wasteland, bro.
Oh, he did! Sinkhole the Wasteland! Oh, no, right, so he sinkholed the Bayou.
Yeah,
okay, why did he Wasteland...
Why did he play the Factory out first?
Why did he Wasteland after that? Oh, well, I guess we can ask Tim later.
Yeah.
We're doing an interview with the losers after each round, or alternating, taking turns. So Tim gets a lot better after side. Gets to bring in the Engineered Plagues and 2 Toxic Deluge. Oh, sorry, Chris. Chris gets a lot better.
Well, he's got him on the hustings. He just needs a couple of removal spells here.
Yeah.
We know Tim's got a force, so he might actually force back an Innocent Blood. But
don't think Chris...
That's getting a force. Boom.
Yeah. The Abrupt Decay in his hand's pretty dead now. I think he potentially should have gone for the damage in the early swing and used the Abrupt Decay for the Lily.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to get him the extra damage. So he's got 5 damage this turn and 5 damage next turn if he doesn't get another Wasteland effect. Which will see the game over. 1 card in hand for Chris.
He needs an Innocent Blood or he's dead.
I know you say it should favour Chris, but...
the build's weak. He shouldn't be playing Sinkholes.
The build is weak, but not just that. Tim has phenomenal draws every time I've played him with this deck.
Yeah. I'd still look for you.
I'll blind flip every time as...
He's dead.
I believe the life totals that are...
Double Death Rite Bash.
Tim's actually on 17 here. He's going to 6... Oh, no, 19. Oh, he exiled for the life.
He activates Death Rite twice and then bashes, so it's game over.
Yep.
Unless...
Oh, no, because he has the Wasteland open, so he activates Death Rite once. He needs a land. And from his hand, we know he has 2 cards, one of which is an Abrupt Decay.
Maybe Chris has suddenly decided to mainboard Spinning Darknesses.
Ah, no, from his list.
I know, I'm just being a smart ass.
2 Spinning Darkness inside.
Yeah. Spinning Darkness is really good. particularly against burn as well. Like Pox is a terrible burn matchup, but Spitting Darkness pulls it ahead slightly.
Yep.
Bam.
Game.
So
Skipping.
Chris
So-
will be boarding in
So post board.
Deluges and Spinning Darknesses. Engineered Plagues are pretty ordinary here.
Oh, they hit. So he's got. You can hit Delver, you can hit Mongoose, you can hit.
Well, he doesn't know.
Deathrite's pretty bad.
Does he know that Tim's got Goose?
Yeah, because he led with turn 1 Goose. Yeah. Dark Ritual, Lily, Sacrifice.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yep. So he knows he has the Mongoose, he knows he has Deathrite, he knows he has Delver. I'm guessing he's going to say True Name, so he's boarding into that.
I'll make a friendly $10 bet with you that he's going to board in the Surgical Extractions when he really shouldn't. So let's have a watch.
So he's boarding out cards at the moment.
Board out your Sinkholes, bro. Come on.
Isn't Sinkhole strong in this matchup for the ability to just... Right, he's taking out his Hymns.
Not against a deck with 4 days.
Wait, was that him?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and
taking
the
out
Nether
him.
Void? Yep. Do you reckon he should bring in the Abyss here? I mean, you've played the deck a lot more than I have.
The Abyss is not very good against Nimble Mongoose.
That's fair.
So
So he's taking out his 4 Hymns, and you reckon that he's going to bring in Surgicals? Well,
because
$10.
if he's playing bad, if he's playing bad, come on, don't board him in. Good job. I don't think he did.
Did he board cards? Looked like he just took cards out.
No, I'm pretty sure he put the Spinning Darknesses in. What about
Right,
about Chris's deck?
Tim's
deck.
Tim Evers coming up. If you had in order,
You didn't tell me the order, sweetheart. So
you were the one who had the order, sweetheart. So he's looking to be bringing in
nothing.
Misdirection.
Nothing.
Misdirection.
Misdirection. A misdirection.
That's
That's it. Look, Tim's board is 2 Dread of Night, good against the Death and Taxes, an Engineered Plague, 2 Seed Time. Lol.
Seed Time. I played that against him during the league, and I think that's what he did for it. I forced his spell and Seed Time.
Oh god. A Vendilion Click, Golgari Charm, Submerge, 2 Mind Break Traps, Spell Pierce Force, Misdirection. So Misdirection comes in. I don't think his board's very well put together either.
Potentially bringing in the Force isn't terrible play.
It's card disadvantage against a deck that's trying to run your hand down. I think it's
Yeah,
pretty
but
dumb.
taking out the 2-for-1s and things like the Hymns, which he's boarding out, but Tim could potentially bring in.
I mean, what would you take out for a single misdirection? Probably a hymn.
Yeah. I would be taking out the Hymns here because the opponent's just going to try and wreck your hand.
Or an edict. I mean, you know, it's not very good. He's only seen Nether Spirit so far.
And Manlands, he saw multiple factories.
Multiple factories. He's got Wastelands for them, though.
Yeah, but he needs all the lands he can get. I mean, he took a gambit when he Wastelanded in order to draw the next land for the Deathrite. We're going to game 2. Chris is on the play, which is a definite plus for the Pox deck. Tim Evers being higher in the standings, though, is a definite benefit for him being able to play Bug Delver on the play at the minimum of 2 games of 3.
Don't you love Chris's playmat?
It's actually Dillion's playmat.
It's Dylan's playmat.
Dylan Kakawa.
Yeah. I wanted to get one of those with of course, myself on it.
So as I understand it, no, with you on it, just plaster your face over Kibler.
I look pretty good in a suit, mate.
So as I understand it, the idea is to play the playmat the other way around, so that the Kibler distracts your opponent and makes them play poorly.
I remember Marco, actually, who's generously come down today. He used to play Anime Islands in Legacy, and I think we had a camera match where he was on show and tell with the Anime Islands, and I kept on touching up his anime figurines every time he played an island. It was pretty distracting.
So I've seen multiple people not be allowed to play in tournaments because of their anime lands.
Oh, they were repulsive.
Well,
I've seen some pretty bad anime
lands.
lands. So, I've seen upskirts drawn on islands. I mean, that's terrible.
There was a famous altar artist that was asked to do one, and drew this massively obese anime girl to troll the person who asked them, because they were generic and just said an anime girl.
Fair enough.
As a sort of protest that he didn't like them. Did Tim just cut the deck so the same cards remained on top? So here,
Sinkhole Ritual, first turn Lily. Do we have a swamp?
Yep, we've got the swamp. It's second from the right. Swamp Dark Ritual Lily. He's got Inquisition after that.
Look, if he's got first turn Ritual Him Thoughtseize, I'd probably go with that over a Lily. I know that doesn't sound right, but
is it a
like,
Thoughtseize or sort of an Inquisition?
you know, like the guy's probably on force here. So I mean, if you Ritual Thoughtseize him and just drill
If he
his
casts
hand,
the ritual and it gets forced, his hand is rather bad.
people often don't force the rituals. It's funny. Like when I play Storm, I can get away with murder. Like you ritual and then you therapy them,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh dear, should have counted that force."
Yeah.
But yeah,
Rolling up.
no force for Tim.
No, he kept a day's hand on the draw.
Oh dear.
Things are not going to be going well for our young Spaniard.
What's in the bin above the ritual?
An Inquisition.
That's an Inquisition. Okay.
Someone Thoughtseize taking
Highly
the
relevant.
Sinkhole. Taking the Sinkhole. So he's got the Wasteland in his hand, Deathrite Delver.
No, he's got the days, remember, so there's no point taking the Sinkhole.
Oh, no, it's a misdirection, sorry.
Yeah, he's got a misdirection. He's got a misdirection. He's going to misdirect it. Well, that's irrelevant.
Oh, I'll get you.
Oh, now I'm going to lily up and you got no cards in hand, son.
Getting to Lily Ulti is still much better, and it's the Nether Spirit he's losing. So now he can play...
Don't be so excited, Chris. I mean, you've won. I mean,
he's got no cards in hand, hoping to get there.
He's got there, it's fine.
I would have played the Deathrite into the Lily to try and force it to roll down there. Well, he's going to roll up again. What are you hoping to rip? We've got an Abrupt Decay or Death. Oh, at least Lily Ulti from there.
Well, even Abrupt Decay is not very good here. You'll be down on one card against a Nether Spirit. I know it's a 9-turn clock. It's not huge, but I mean, I think it's good enough here.
Well, the Deathrite that he's got in his hand, if he gets to keep that as well, then he should be fine. So
Sylvan Library.
Yeah.
It's too late, but that's a really good card in this matchup.
You didn't see him draw that? Right, so he's going to Sylvan Library, pay a bunch of life in order to maintain the balance with Lily. So he's losing the Deathrite, no cards in hand, he's going for the Library. This is going to cause an amount of pain. It's going to significantly shorten that clock if he's going for the Abrupt Decay. And the Factory as well is a great draw for Chris.
Wasteland, Days, and Goose, I think. He's seeing off the Library.
Goose?
Wasteland's alright, I guess it slows down the Factory.
Yeah.
Goose is a pretty good blocker.
So he has the potential for Lily Ulti, Sylvan Library, or lands at this point, and I think that'll make the game.
No, I think it's a second Wasteland, not a Goose. So.
Oh, he paid the full life.
Yeah.
So Ulti for Sylvan Library or lands, and he loses the ability to go out into
the game's over.
Yeah. He's going to roll up. Going with the Nether Spirit, leaving Days in hand.
Force Deathrite Thoughtseize.
The game feels very much over. The game is definitely over. He can play the Deathrite. The Deathrite can be Edict, and still leaving Lily on 6. He can't draw the additional cards to keep his life total up. Deathrite can, at very best, block if for some reason it doesn't get Edicted straight away. Days isn't going to help him because he's got the win on board. And you're only going to see one more card.
He just did.
Going to game 3, he can't do much more about his sideboard. He does get to go on the play again, which is helpful.
Yeah, you can lead with the first turn Delver. I mean, I just hate the sinkholes in that Pox deck. They should...
You much prefer Smallpox?
He doesn't have Smallpox?
No, he has Smallpox.
Yeah, of course he does. Yeah,
but as an
Oh, you just don't play Sinkhole. You play the in-turn package in green, and you get Abrupt Decay. It gives you a bit more flexibility. I mean,
and the life from the loam to just...
Yeah, and look, if Tim was on more life, that Sylvan Library would wreck Chris. And you need to be able to deal with problematic permanents like that.
With Abrupt Decay and things, and also just...
Actually, just on that, the Loam deck's looking really interesting now. They're playing just red-green with Grove, Punishing Fire, and Gamble to search up Loam.
Oh, yeah,
it's
I
insane.
saw that. I played against that in the league in the first round, and actually won off my opponent gambling twice for Dark Depths and losing consecutively. Otherwise, would have won in the match, and it was just sheer dumb luck. but that happened a lot in the league from what I heard. Yeah, I'm unsure. I guess Tim isn't skipping because he's well, to hear Fry tell it, yeah, he's a robot. Although, having played have you played Judge Tower? Format 5 brought back?
No.
So you play with a large pile of cards that all have interesting interactions with rules and whatnot. Infinite mana, infinite life, and the first person to get a game rule violation loses. And you just keep playing. Oh, you also have to activate all abilities as soon as you can, and play all spells as
So
soon
you're
as you
saying
can.
So you're saying I'd lose as soon as I draw my opening hand with a sideboard card?
I believe you only start with one card, so
It'd still be a sideboard card. I'd still lose straight away. I collect GRVs like a fat man coated in honey rolling around in a bit of money, I suppose.
Going to game 3.
Much to Fry's consternation.
We've got Tim on the play. I think this is going to come down to opening hands. I mean,
First turn Thoughts is pretty good for Tim. Or first turn Death Ride even.
first
Turn Death Ride with Days Backup is
First turn.
really good.
First time Delver with Days Backup. Force Misdirection somewhere in there.
I've only got one misdirection, I mean.
Yeah. Would that be something you'd play more of?
Look, I don't like his board at all. I think this board's pretty.
I think the seed time's interesting. I think that the advanced knowledge of who they were going to play before they submitted deck lists means that his board is possibly incorrect, given he was fully aware he was going to be playing
Well,
Chris.
he's only got one card against
Chris
Chris.
has been addicted to Pox.
He's only got
type
one.
decks.
He's only got one
Yeah.
card against Chris, so he clearly hasn't built his deck to beat Chris. Look, I look at the board and see, the force and the misdirection and all that, stuff in there, and I just think, well, you were too greedy with your main deck. You
Maybe.
tried to shove too much stuff in there, and you had to put cards like Force on the back burner into the sideboard.
Yeah.
I mean, he's running bad cards against other decks, and Mindbreak Trap isn't very good against Storm.
Depends on the build of Storm, obviously, but yes.
Look, the thing with Storm is when you're boarding against Storm, what you need is, if you're going to have reactive hate like Permission, like Cluster Storms and Misdirections, it needs to be varied, so they can't hit it with the therapy. But generally, it's always better to be proactive against a Storm deck, because otherwise you're going to get a rude surprise when they just duress your stuff out of their hand.
He has Thoughts is, or 2 main and a Lily. Yeah, I guess he doesn't have that much. Oh, he's got 3 hymns, there we go. But amusingly, I think this might actually just be his board from the league, and he hasn't altered his deck at all.
Yeah.
And he's just hoping for that to carry him through.
I mean, the Dreaded Knight's fine.
But definitely measuring the top 8, I think, would have been a better call, at least in sideboard, if not in deck choice. Yeah. Tim does seem to be allergic to different decks, as does Chris. Chris is playing Pox in every format, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, but to me, when I look at that board, I just see a board that does nothing.
Okay, we've started the next one. It started with Underground Seed nothing into Wasteland. Verdant Catacombs Crack into nothing.
Not saying you fetch your Brainstorm.
Alright. Drop on Nimble Mongoose.
Goose.
That didn't come down turn 1.
Inquisition.
Yep. Dazing that. What's he got in hand that he's so desperate to keep?
Maybe a follow-up Death Rider Delver or something.
Yep, so we've got the Death Right.
I think here would be pretty brutal, because then Chris would be able to pick off things at Liberty.
So what do you think of Death Cloud in the Pox build? Actually, that's a card that's been...
No, he's got the Sinkhole. Let's see if he's got the backup days. Yeah, always. Oh no, he doesn't. It's not dazing. He got there.
He's got the land.
He's got the land.
And he's got the Force here. Force, Abrupt Decay, and the last card is...
something blue.
Vendilion Click? He bought it in the Click. I thought he might do that for the additional creatures, but it's a particularly vulnerable creature, and
he's never casting it.
It's not going to do much. He could have cast off a turn 1 Death Right into turn 2 Click.
But what are you clicking away? I mean, at that point,
Well,
Chris
anything
would
you
have
click away,
Yeah.
you're going to click into something else.
Chris would have already gunned out his lilies if he had them. So
Potentially clicking himself for card selection.
yeah.
So here we're going for Lily.
Well, is he on threshold? No, nowhere near. He's got
Toxic Deluge for 2.
Wow.
That's a pretty large block. There's no way you can get 2 threshold from there. Crack for the Brainstorm.
Cracked Brainstorm gives you.
Oh, he's forcing it. Crack Brainstorm and force with the click, surely.
Who's going to
Crack.
now?
Just right.
Remember if he. Oh, the Spitting Darkness.
Yeah, here we go. In response to the crack. Spitting Darkness is exile the top 3 cards of your library.
Yeah,
the top 3
and
black cards.
now we're going to actually see some of the awkwardness of Tim's deck. I mean, even if he saves the Death Right,
Yeah.
now that Chris's graveyard's been exiled, he has to keep his own goose off threshold to use Death Right.
Yes.
Which is funny.
Losing the Brainstorm to the Force, I think, was a massive misplay for Tim. Not being able to brainstorm in to try and find another days or even a second Force of Will.
Yeah, look, all you want to do is just keep your land count up against Pox.
Yeah, the click was entirely unnecessary. I mean, I think he may have been a bit greedy in the idea.
And now
of using
remember,
cast
he's
it
got
next
a
turn.
blocker for Goose, because you can obviously block, then
Activate
activate
the
the
factory.
factory.
Yeah.
Abrupt Decay can't destroy a factory. And we know Tim doesn't have any dismembers, so the only way he can actually destroy a factory is with a Wasteland.
Is Toxic Deluge as an additional cost to cast?
I don't think it is, actually.
Sure, I think we'll pull up the Oracle just to have a look, because that means he might have actually just lost additional life. Is that on there? So he's beaten with the thing. We'll pull it up. Wasteland.
Stop!
Smallpox. Oh, and here we go. There's game. I don't think the Toxic Deluge life is going to matter. Tim still doesn't scoop here. I mean, there's hope, but not much. Definitely losing that Brainstorm is going to hurt here.
And now we ping for 2 for 1,000,000 turns. So Pox probably getting through, which is interesting.
So we haven't seen Surgicals come in, so for $10, but I'll let you earn your money back. I'm predicting $10 on the final for a Smallpox.
Smallpox burn. Does the bracket actually work? Because I was the one who first said that. If the brackets work, I wouldn't be surprised. So people are just getting punished.
Yeah, the brackets work.
Okay. People are getting punished in this meta because, I mean, Canberra players refused to play combo. We had how many rounds of Legacy?
We had 5 rounds of Legacy.
So that means we had 24 players.
Yep.
So that means we had over 100 games. I saw, out of those 100 games, Elves once, Show and Tell once. So there was one player.
No, there was at least 2. I played Sneak and Show 1 round, and I know that it was played. Show and Tell Omniscience surely was also played.
No, there was a Storm player consistently playing Storm throughout the rounds.
Yeah,
and that was
that
was it.
That's the end.
And someone rocks up to this tournament in light of that meta with a burn deck. I mean, Counterbalance is terrible game against burn. It's really hard for Delver against burn. So you just end up having a budget deck take it down. Like Burn won the latest Legacy SCG as well, so it's well positioned. And if people don't play combo, if they want to doodle about with Delvers, they're going to lose. Interestingly, I built that list for Lockie before that bloke won the SCG, and it's almost a 75 card copy, except he has a different board. He was playing Shushes in the board against Counterbalance, which is just hilarious.
Yep. So it is actually as an additional cost to cast there.
Okay. With Toxic Deluge.
Yep.
Yeah,
so it would potentially be on most life, but it's not actually an issue here.
So
scroll, not the fact.
So who's interviewing Tim?
Tell you what, you can interview Tim, and I will make a short trip to go and pick up one of our other contestants, who was not able to be here.
So you'll just bring Tim into the commentary booth?
Yep, I'll go do that.
Okay, excellent.
While they set up the next round, you can interview Tim.
No worries. I can even offer him some of my happy cow. You know, friendships are made, created the happy cow, right?
Yeah.
So Tim will be with us shortly. I guess after that, I've got to offer you some hummus and some happy cow cheese.
I'll
It's
be
the
fine.
it's the best in warm delicacies, mate. Are you sure?
Yes, I am.
So feeling pretty bad after that. How'd it go? You think?
It was pretty close, which was nice in a sense, but he kept slamming turn one lilies, which is hard.
Yeah, Box does tend to do that though.
Yeah, it does.
Um,
It's a rough matchup at times.
yeah. I saw some of your sideboarding decisions actually in I think it was game 3. Did you bring in that Mindbreak trap?
I brought in one Mindbreak trap over a Ponder.
Yeah. So what was your thinking there?
If he does things with Dark Rituals, sometimes he will cast 3 spells, and if not, a hard counter is sometimes what I need if I get flooded.
Yeah. So you brought it in for something like the Dark Ritual, thought sees him play or something, so you could trap the him. Okay, that makes sense. Just tell me a bit about this board as well. I mean, Jacob was saying that you haven't really changed the board from what you had during the league.
I did change one card. I added a misdirection, and
Yeah.
I think I probably should put in one more misdirection.
Yeah, well, look, misdirection seems pretty good in this matchup. So,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
and you knew what your pairings were going to be, and you were pretty sure that Chris was going to be on Pox as well, right?
He was either going to be on Pox or Control. I submitted my list sort of before I really put too much thought into it.
Yeah, so just run me through some of these sideboard choices. I mean, Dread of Night's a bit of a gimme against Death and Taxes, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, you're hitting a few of their pieces. I suppose you got the Mind Sensors, the Thalias are going. I mean, Thalia's
Thalia's a real
inconvenient
problem
against
for
you.
me.
Yeah. You got your Plague. I mean, that's a concession, I suppose, to things like Elves
Yeah,
if they pop up. Seed Time.
seed time.
Seed Time. Tell me about Seed Time.
Well, I owe that one to Jacob Dunn. Played against him earlier in the league, and he was playing a deck that was themed around trying to do everything that Vintage can do, but in Legacy. So those were some of his time walks.
Yeah.
And I thought this card is really good against Brainstorm, which is played in most of the field.
Yeah.
And against counter spells, it gets even better. And extra turns are really good for tempo. So
Yeah, particularly Delver. I mean, if you land a Delver and then on turn 2 you stick a Seed Time with Days back up, that's 6 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the click, again, pretty obvious. I mean, you're boarding that in against combo, but it's a concession as well because it's a bit of a beat stick too.
yeah,
Um,
bring it in against the Pox just because I need an extra body.
Yeah. Golgari Charm, again, True Name Nemesis. Bit of a hassle for you.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Often I can race it, but sometimes you can't. And it's
um,
also against Enchantress.
just in
It's
case.
got so many good modes.
Yeah. Well, that's Golgari Charm. I mean, now people are just like, well, just in case Enchantress comes up, and I'm putting it in anyway for True Name Nemesis, might as well play the Charm.
It's also
Submerge?
seen Supreme Verdict being played in like some blue-white lists, so
Yeah, the Stoneblade decks often play 1 or 2 of those. So we've got a Submerge here.
yeah,
Two
anything with
spells.
green creatures.
Yeah. 2 traps, the Spell Pierce, the Force, the Misdirection. So just a small counter package just to back you up. Just talking about your main board as well. So I noticed you dropped a Force and a Hymn, and it looks like you put in 2 Edicts over that. Why'd you do that?
I actually replaced Lilies with Edicts.
Okay.
I don't have the full Force package because the card disadvantage is quite hard to struggle with in fair matchups. I only really want 4 Force against sort of combo decks or where I've got a lot of dead cards.
Yeah, that's definitely the American experience. I mean, a lot of those decks are starting to drop the 4th Force.
Mm.
And you've got the main board Thought Seizers as well. So, how did the Gooses go with the Deathrite Charm? Did it put you any, the anti-synergy put you in any strife at all?
I haven't had any trouble with it myself. I very rarely exile my own cards with Deathrite Shaman. Opponent's graveyard fills up enough because I'm playing a reasonably attrition-y game, particularly if I hymn people. And like, there's so many fetch lands in the format, so he's always got mana sources to target, which is often what he ends up being because I'm only running the 19 lands.
Okay, so Deathrite has been pretty live for you, and you're happy with the Goose. Because when I look at your list, it's interesting. When I see the Nimble Mongoose in there, it almost feels to me like it's a merging of a Bug and a Rug deck that have just sort of come together. And you're running like only 2 more creatures than sort of normal for a tempo deck, which is obviously the true names. Usually they run about 12. But, you know, Tombstalker or Tarmogoyf, you didn't feel them at all?
I like Tombstalker, but the anti-synergy with Mongoose and Deathrite Shaman I found was a bit much, and True Name was I thought a stronger top-end guy.
Okay.
Tarmogoyf, he was sort of in the ring with Nimble Mongoose, and I prefer the Shroud and the 1 less mana
Okay,
over the sort of extra speed. Because, I mean, like, if you're playing the Rug deck or even American, you're a bit faster, but the Bug one's much more of an attrition-y matchup, sort of can counter a lot of things, and then you've got the Abrupt Decays and whatnot to just punch through with the little guys a few extra times.
Yeah, that makes sense because your curve is definitely drop with the creatures. I mean, it seems to all be about getting a 1-drop out, and just in case you end up getting to 3 mana, you got a true name. Whoops, off it goes.
Yeah, and even I've slammed turn 2 true names with the Death Rites quite a number of times as well.
Yeah, so that's pretty sweet. Well, anyway, look, thanks for coming in.
No.
You did particularly well in the Swiss with this deck, didn't you?
Yeah, I was second, just behind Jim.
Okay, so I think Jim, who's coming up soon, actually had an almost perfect record with Counterbalance. I think he threw 1 match, and which is terrifying. I mean, you know, the Counterbalance deck that just rolls through everyone. You probably had 3 match losses, I think.
2
match losses. So that's pretty sweet as well.
Yeah, one of them was to Jim.
One of them was to Jim, of course. There you go. So Jim the King. One other thing I wanted to mention as well is a lot of these lists will board a Sylvan library. I do like that you've got the main board library, so I think that's a really good addition to the list.
It did start off in my sideboard at the beginning of the league, but I found it just, with pitching to force and things, you want to be able to recover the cards main deck.
Okay.
It gives you a chance of sticking in if you do end up sort of blank on board.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for coming in, Tim. Good job.
Thanks.
And you're in the Highlander League, right?
Yes.
So we'll be seeing more of you?
Hopefully.
Okay, great. Well, thanks a lot, man. Our next game coming up is going to be the Jim Wilkes Experience on Counterbalance, and he'll be playing Lachlan Saunders on the Burn deck. We're just going to go to a quick break now while we set up the next game, and then we'll be with you in about 5 minutes.